So, dear audiences, I think it's time to start. I'm Katarina from the Ice Hot Helsinki team, and I want to welcome you all to this seminar, Equity in Dance Production. What are we doing and what are we missing? It's organized as part of the program of the Hot Nordic Dance platform going on here in Helsinki, and this seminar is being live streamed on the Hot YouTube channel, and it will be available later on as a recording on our website. And in case there are some, since these are open to the public here in Helsinki as well, if there are anyone who is not registered as an Hot participant but would like some material of this discussion afterwards, please do leave your name and email address there on the table. It's right there on, next to the entrance. And it's my pleasure now to hand over to the facilitator of today, Eva Broberg.
All right. Thank you, Katarina. So hi, my name is Eva Broberg, and I'm the network manager of European Dancehouse Network. And I'm very happy to have you here. And as you see, we are in a circle, and we are going to have this hour. It's 60 minutes, very short, to talk about equity. But we want to do it together. It's a sharing session. So it's not a debate or discussion or a panel. It's a sharing and exchange. And I tell very short why. So EDN is having themes per year. As we are funded through Creative Europe, we have a very good schedule. But with these themes that we have decided to have each year, we are investigating. We want the activities to connect and to see topics that we need to go further down and deeper and to investigate. So next year we're going to have equity. And we're going to have activities, we're going to have research, a publication, we're going to do conference. So how do we know what we are going to deal about when it comes to equity? I don't want to do it in the office, we don't want to do it next week, we want to do it together with the professionals in the field. So it is a little bit of a mapping, but at the same time, this is the time to see what are we doing, what kind of strategies do we have to change, to make it a little bit more equity in our work as professional in the dance field. So for this, we have 6 professionals here that has been asked to prepare a sharing. It can also be to just put the spotlight on what are the questions that we urgently need to enlighten or to address. And with this, equity is like a really broad, so how do we not make it too overwhelming? So the other kind of, to narrow it down is the time frame. To think about what is the possibility to do changes next year in behaviors or mindset that will create better equity. With this, I want to just very fast introduce the names, and then the speakers or the sharing people will themselves introduce them. Just checking if I missed something here. Probably I'll come back to that. A very important thing. After these 6 people have shared, we invite you also to share if you have something. If you don't, then don't. If you do, you've probably done something in your professional life that changed this behavior or to create more equity. And it would be great to learn and to know more. But also if you have this question that we need to urgently address when it comes to inequity. So Jane Gabriels will share with us the outside European perspective. And then the rest are European. Jarkko Partanen and Àngels Margarit, Destiny of Kleen, Christina Elliot, and Veera Suvalo Grimberg. And we just, let's start. Time is short. And we said, you will start. Oh, no. It's... Yeah.
Thank you. Kiitos. Thanks. Hi, good. Who's nervous? I'm not nervous. Thank you so much for being here. So I'm just going to give some context of where I'm coming from. It's not just to talk about myself, it's to give you an idea of where I'm coming from. And I'm going to show a couple of videos whenever you like, without sound. These are culminating residency showings, but just so you can enjoy watching. And Bodies Hold Story. So, yeah, so I'm the executive director of Dance West Network, which headquarters is on the stolen, ancestral, unceded, unsurrendered lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. The colonial name of this area is Vancouver in the province of British Columbia, so it's on the west coast of Canada. I started working there in 2018 after working in the Bronx for over 20 years, directing a nonprofit arts organization called Pepatien, which was founded by award-winning artist Patty Bradshaw, choreographer Marian Soto, visual artist Pepon Osorio, MacArthur Genius Award winner, has work at the MoMA, big deal. And that area of the Bronx, it's very Afro-Caribbean, indigenous, Latinx, Latina, Latino. It's historically underserved because of systematic everything. It has tremendous cultural wealth. It's the home of salsa, it's the birthplace of hip hop. With many of the artists and nonprofits in the Bronx, I collaborated and created lots of projects. It really was about getting the artists resources to continue growing their work. And I'm just gonna name a few artists because we're on camera. Rockefeller, Querida de la Luz, AKA La Bruja, Malik Washington, Tatiana Desardouen, who's from Switzerland but lives in Brooklyn in the Bronx, Alicia Diaz, Marisol Diaz-Gordon, Marian Ramirez, among many others. So then I started in Vancouver, which is very different, but has similar historically underserved BIPOC, which is Black, Indigenous, people of color, okay, dance artists, often from communities where dance is integral part of the culture. So I started, as many of you do, residencies with a structure, but I also, within that, invited the emerging dance artists to tailor their experience for what they needed. There were 3 that were selected that got most of the resources, pero everyone who applied got something, whether it's rehearsal space, some money, mentors, something else. So I just really wanted to encourage everyone who applied, to encourage them, keep them going, and hopefully they would apply again next year. And that's been a really beautiful thing. Some other long-term impacts, these are just snapshots. The artists in the residency are invited to invite a writer into their process who's also emerging in BIPOC. Their work is edited with an editor. The writing is not a review, it's a reflective essay. They accompany the creative process of the dance artist. And what happens, which is really fun, after the dance artists finish their culminating residency, they've totally forgotten about this writer. So then 2 months later, they get this gorgeous essay, and they're always gorgeous about their work. And then they have that. And also, you know, I forgot to mention, but whatever, I did a doctorate, okay, about, I wrote about the Bronx artists and nonprofits, and because I really wanted to get those conversations, I wanted to get their work in other circles and conversations. So because of going through that process, I also realized, like, it's really important to have written material for future researchers. Like, this is where they're gonna go, this is what they're gonna quote, this is gonna help define some of the artist's work in some other research capacity. The other long term is that all the artists in Vancouver are invited to an online showcase so they can connect their work with other network presenters and other presenters or anyone with resources. So we're trying to help more opportunities. So we're kind of cultivating the artists and then raising their visibility. This residency is about to start its 4th annual. Because it's been ongoing, we've been able to have other artist exchanges in Calgary and across Canada with the Can Dance Creative Exchange Project. Just one other thing, because of the Vancouver residency, we were able to start a residency in northern BC, which is much more remote. And it was just really interesting because it's like a totally different pacing. And it was really about hold up, listen a lot more. They don't need all this right now. They just need, because they're making work on their own. And there's different stresses and pressures just trying to get the studio space and all of these things. So really trying to create conditions to support what is already happening. They're already creating, we're just supporting that some more. The other thing, you know, just this idea like in scarcity, there's also abundance. There's a woman, Cetacia White, who's from the Shinemoch Nation on Vancouver Island. I was introduced to her by Holly Bright, Crimson Coast Dance. And Cetacia, I had a little bit of money and I invited her to very simply put a conversation together with Indigenous cultural leaders and dance artists. And it was amazing. Margaret Grenier was part of that. She's here today with her, well, she's in the festival with her husband. You should talk to her. Like, the amount of wealth of material, of information is phenomenal. And then Cetacia said out loud after that conversation, "This should be a book." I was like, "You realize you said that out loud, right?" And like, I heard it. So the booklet's almost done, and that will be available online as a PDF. So one last point, and then a summary. 2 last points. Just to say also, I've been working with Joanne Cuff, who's an expert on artists who are experiencing disability. It's a big learning curve for me to learn about ableist language, accessibility needs. It's like, it's very tailored for each person. There's a lot to learn. As we've been working with more Indigenous artists and communities, we changed the name of the organization. It used to be Made in BC, Dance on Tour. The work has become less tour focused and more about network, relationship, community building. Also, Made in BC has that really strong colonial name to it. And we just like push that to the side and just, hello, yes, Dance West Network. To summarize, which could be a poem, all this work takes time. Again, you're strengthening what is already there, what is already happening. You're listening for ways to contribute and support, not just listening, but like where you can contribute your skills to help something move. It's giving a little TLC, tender loving care, and then getting out of the way. You're really cultivating and connecting artists with other resources to raise the visibility of the artists. This is an ongoing need. And I love this thing about you're kind of giving an extra push, but you're not letting go. You're giving a push and you're keeping your hand there for support. That's what I had to share. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I forgot something, so thank you, Jane. Before I give this to you, I forgot to say, but you obviously know, English, most of us is not having it as a native tongue. So with this, don't hesitate to ask for anyone to repeat or for a clarification. We are many of us that are speaking in different accents and so on, so don't hesitate with this. Yeah, Destiny.
So nice to be here. Thank you for having me. Destiny of Kleen, DansPlats Skog, Sweden. I'm a freelance dancer and choreographer, and I'm also a director for DansPlats Skog. It's a production space and stage for dance in the rural of Sweden, out in the countryside. I want to talk about space. I think I had so many choices and so many things that I wanted to talk about, but I think it's going to be space now, because when it comes to production of dance, you need space. It's important, and I've been working a lot internationally, and I've been working for a long time, and it just felt like 8 years ago. It felt like I got stuck because I couldn't understand. I could see where it was systematic, like in every project I was in, or in all the work I was doing. It just came down to space, lack of space, not money, just space, nowhere to work. So then me and 4 artists came together, and me and my wife bought a church out in the countryside in the middle of Sweden. And this house, we've been having it for 7 years now. This house is open, literally all the time. Like the doors are always open, and you're welcome to come. And it's bookable, so you just write to us, and then you can come and work. And it's fully booked until November 2023 now. And this is for me. It's big because it's not a big thing for us. We just bought the house and we pay for the electricity bill, and then we even built an extra house for residencies to come. And we have all these projects like Mothers in Residence, where we facilitate, like we have child, like you can offer kids child care, and then you can go and work and leave your kids with a person that take care of your baby, and then go and work. And for me, this is it doesn't feel like you're doing a big thing, but it is big, because what happens is that out in the countryside, many productions are produced, and so we help and help a lot of productions being made, and that otherwise wouldn't be made, and that feels important, like we're doing an important job. And I always try to encourage others to do the same, actually, because this is something that's that I mean, you can make a performance in your bathroom probably, but you know, it's yeah, don't.
I take over the green microphone. I will start by showing a short trailer from Spinn's first 10 years with clips from various colorful performances. End of trailer. So, my name is Veera Suvalo Grimberg, and I'm the founder and artistic director of Danskompaniet Spinn. Spinn consists of dancers with and without disabilities, and we are based in Gothenburg, Sweden. We are supported by Gothenburg City, Västra Götalandsregionen, and the Arts Council. I identify myself as a woman, 50 plus, tall body, light skin, red eyeglasses, short grayish hair, and I'm wearing a dress that has white, green and black patterns. Our starting point is in the arts. In the company, we constantly learn from each other. The choreographers, composers and designers that we invite to work with us hopefully catch new courage and knowledge by spending time with us. We, for sure, learn from them. These artists continue to work in other contexts and hopefully continue to question things and include new people in their work, feeling less fear for differences. Spinn's administration, communication and tour coordination is handled by Producentbyrån. They have come they have become a lot more aware of accessibility in general, which influences their own work and the work with other artists, websites and projects. With time, we have become more clear what we need and how we can create a more sustainable working environment. There are the individual needs that I as an employer need and wish to meet. We discuss the schedule, warm-ups, dreams of own choreographies and working terms on tours. Clarity in communication, both inwards and outwards, is crucial. A deeper dialogue with venues is needed about physical accessibility and approach. I'd like to bring up 3 learnings. 1. Individual and company development through mentorship and coaching. In Spinn, we meet a coach 2 to 4 times a year. We work with the company identity, our roles, challenges, expectations. Dancers join and leave the company, and that affects us all. Never take things for granted. As the ambitious, passionate, but many times even frustrated artistic director, I have a big need regularly meet a professional coach and mentor also without the dancers. And I have enjoyed being a mentor for others. The Spinn dancers are mentoring dancers in our sister company, Spinn. 2. International networks and collaborations such as the Creative Europe project Moving Beyond Inclusion and Pro Helvetia project called Spark. 6 to 7 countries, among them festivals and companies. We have organized creative labs, shared thoughts, tools, ideas, knowledge spheres. You learn a lot by organizing and hosting a lab. The last lab in Veera, we established a concept of lab buddies. The participants live and digitally were matched with another dancer for a daily sharing. Simple and appreciated. These projects have ended, but the networks are very much alive, even during the pandemic. And some of these people are here at IceHot. 3. Regional network called the Universal Performance Network. This is based in Västra Götalandsregionen on the western side of Sweden. The name of the network is inspired by universal design. We believe in creating conditions for everyone to be able to participate and contribute from the beginning. It's good to consider as many different aspects as possible already while creating work and also raise awareness of accessibility and representation within performing arts and education. The network is a mixture of artists, companies, institutions and organizations. Some of them have more audience focus, others performing and/or democracy. We have a steering group that makes a planning and invites people to larger meetings 4 times a year for knowledge sharing, inspiration and events. Around 30 people joined last time. Many of us feel that the network makes us stronger. It is important to remember that not everybody has an equal starting point, but when you open up, you will have access to unique perspectives. One should never be afraid to ask another human being what is best for them, what they need, and telling that, now I don't know what I do in this situation. This simple action takes you further. It's also important to dare to receive the answer and eventually an action. I need to remind myself that I, as a non-disabled white person and a leader, have a power position that I should not misuse. So Veera, step back, give space for others, show your interest and curiosity. Witness how people grow. Challenges. Everyone thinks that it is important and good. No one is against working with accessibility, but often there are just words and not so much results. Accessibility is nothing you just fix. it's a lifelong welcome to the reality. It can be so much fun too. We are afraid of doing wrong, using wrong words, and we easily complicate things. Instead of waiting and waiting, just do it. Take your first action. Pick one thing this year and spread the word. And I will finish by showing a short list of links. It's some projects that I mentioned earlier, Moving Beyond Inclusion and Spark. So there is some great material, some film material, and even like other documents that you might be interested in. And there's our company website where you have my contact details. And so, thank you.
Yeah, hello, I have the right one. So, hello, my name is Jarkko Partanen, and I'm a member of Wowhouse Arts Collective. Wowhouse is a collective of 7 artists and a producer. Julia is there, and we're based here. Our studio is actually here at Cable Factory. And we work kind of in between genres. We've made works which can be called choreography or dance, and we made something which can be also called theater or just performance. We also make lectures and workshops, and we've been luckily been able to collaborate and present work in quite varying contexts. So we've made work for smaller black box theaters. We also have a stadium piece. Also made works for larger theater houses, and also now for the Helsinki Biennale last year. And I would like to talk a bit about structures and the importance of them. That sometimes even the best of intentions and promises are not enough if they don't actually turn into something we all know and we all agree. So I would actually like to go back to the very beginning, when we're still figuring things out and trying out, and also a lot of trial and error. So in 2015, we were 5 artists originally, and we had been making work together in different constellations out of this 5 already, but then the question came that, okay, that things look precarious, future is uncertain, nobody wants to do this alone. Are we going to have a joint artistic future, commit to each other for in the long run, and also to evaluate how we want to work together, but also how to create some kind of meaningful structures which can support our work. And of course, this kind of artistic development is one thing, but that also meant building an institution together. Collective is only not only artistic thing, but also an actual like art institution. And of course, when you start from nothing, an institution, you don't have funding for it. So that means a lot of free work. And also, we said that we're in this together, and we were friends, lovers. We liked working together, so there was a lot of good vibes going on, and we're kind of, yeah, we'll figure this out. And and after we put some structures together, we met weekly in a weekly meeting to share this kind of admin and production, etc., but also plan works and whatever you do when you start. And then a year passed, and then in 2017, in February, we were in the best residency of my life, in the Sant'Arcangelo in Italy. We had a residency in the ticket office. We were not there with the production, but there just to kind of reflect how's it going on and what's happening. And then, even though we knew that, yeah, there's may be something bubbling down under, but then there's a lot of crying and a lot of emotions, a lot of asking, how are you doing, and kind of what do you need. And then we kind of realized, okay, that it's not enough that we say that we do this together, that if there's no actual structures in place how to do it, even the kind of best of friendships and intentions are not enough. So, and for example, we come from different backgrounds, people have different also kind of work identities. Originally we were a choreographer, director, 2 sound designers and a scenographer. Some people are used to take action, used to lead projects, etc., and some people have other strengths, and then also that there's a lot of this kind of feeling inadequate of doing a job or something like that. Everybody wants to learn, and a lot of kind of good things came out from that. And I think we put some structures together then, and then it's been now 6 years, and a lot of those structures has changed. But these ideas of kind of that it's not enough to say that we do things like this. You actually need to have some kind of concrete ways of evaluating and sharing this information, how that happens. And also, we've grown since, and then we also invite a lot of other people to work with us in different projects. And of course, those structures set in there needed to evolve as well. And I think kind of we try at least twice a year have this kind of couple of days a moment of asking how's it going, evaluate how people are doing, how are people's kind of their personal kind of resources going, but also like are this the way we operate, the way we work, does it how we say it is, does it actually reflect what's happening, and kind of keep evaluating and changing and evolving what's happening. But I think this is a very specific example from us, but I think that goes to everything dealing how we work in a working group artistically, how we invite other peoples in, how we relate to the outside. And artistically, we've said that when different working groups emerge from Wow House, they can organize themselves however they want. They can work as hierarchically as they want, as horizontally as they want. The main important bit is that everybody knows how we're going to do this, and everybody needs to agree on that structure, which can be temporary as well. I think that's enough. Good, thank you.
Hello, so I am Àngels Margarit. I am a dancer and choreographer, but now I'm here as a director of Mercat de les Flors. And speaking about equity, because this has so many layers and contexts, that in fact I am director of Mercat de les Flors because I was looking for an equity for our sector in Spain. So when I had 20 years, I realized that if nobody that is really passionate for dance and has the experience of art, if nobody grow and has a really power role in our country, we never will have anything. So after 40 years of career, even they asked me to be director 15 years ago, because this means to stop to create, I didn't accept. But then, 5 years ago, I present a project to direct Mercat de les Flors Dance House. So I am there, and equity for me, arriving there, was to give very much opportunities to our choreographers and dancers, because much of them could develop their work just if they grow outside in Europe, because there are very few places in Spain to co-produce dance. So Europe is full of wonderful dancers or choreographers from Spain, but there are no places for co-produce in Spain. So Mercat de les Flors was a very beautiful space for dance, but especially was helping already well-known choreographers existing in Europe. So my first job in equity was really change this, start to co-produce a lot choreographers of the community, and give also resources. So in 40 years, I never had, for instance, a technique residence in Mercat de les Flors. I had in Ghent, in Vooruit, in Lucerne. But now, for instance, we had this year like 135 days. It means like 12 technique residence of different projects, technical in our house. So that was one of the things that I've been changing last years in the community, to have a little bit of equity. But of course, we have three strands. One is exhibition, the other is creation as a dance house, and the other is mediation. And nowadays, a public space for art, it's not anymore a place for the excellence. It's a place for the access. We cannot afford to grow just a little bit of people in the cultural level. So one of more important things of our space is the education, because it will be the access for next years. So we spend a lot of time in educational programs, and we try also that change the idea in a lot of choreographers that this is a second part of his career. And little by little, I think that more and more well-known choreographers are very interested to participate in our projects for education. And we do this in complicity with a lot of other institutions, independent or publics, because normally independent people invite things and make pilot projects that then the institutions say, oh, that's nice, I will take it. So that happened, and we are really very aware of in which projects we can work with independent people and in which projects we have to go with the institution really to arrive at the whole society. So we develop a lot of creation projects from 0 years to 18 years. And in our house, now these 3 strands, exhibition, education, and creation, are in the same level. That was very important for me to change in the concept, even of the workers that we are there. It's not the second line, the education, it's also a first line, no? So another thing that's very important is when we do co-productions, what we prioritize in a co-production, how the dancers will be paid, how we'll develop this creation. A residence is interesting, yes, of course, but it's not more expensive to go to have a residence there. I mean, there are a lot of aspects of the creation process that we are interested to look for, to take care of it, no? So it's a huge, there are a lot of things to speak about it. And we are trying to pay attention on all this. Also, as a mediation, we try to do a lot of work with the community. That it's not always easy, because that means really to see it very carefully. And because you are an institution, sometimes you have to be very humble. And if you really want to arrive at the people that don't look at you because you are not in their landscape, you have to do a lot of work for this. So, but we try to do it. We try to do it, I don't know, with, for instance, mothers, the time that the mothers have the babies in the school. So try to do something with this time. Or, well, a lot of projects with the community. And then we can speak of the access of mixabilities, or we do workshops, we do as much we can in all these aspects. So every season we have a little bit of all this. Of course, we have a lot of, how we say this, blind spots. Because, I mean, inclusion and access comes with the need of money. So sometimes in our country, they arrive with a very good, beautiful regulation for the web or for the building of accessibility, but without any money to change it. So we do our best. Of course, we have to improve all this. We are, and we arrive to do everything we could do for ourselves. But there are things that you really need money to change. Otherwise, you can't do it. And perhaps the last thing to share in the way I look at the program is that as a public structure, I came with a project of a curated project. I keep opening to have more voices. So inviting and hosting independent curators and organizations to have a place to present his knowledge and another kind of relation with the art that sometimes from the institutions we can neither afford. So for me it's also very important in the equity from a public space to have this dialogue with the sector and with the independent artist. That's a landscape, a view of it. So thanks.
Hi everyone, my name's Christina. I use the pronoun she, her, and I'm senior producer at The Place in London, which is a centre for contemporary dance. And we have a theatre, a studio theatre, and an artist development programme. We have degree level training for dancers and choreographers, and we have a producing and touring house. And my role is to oversee the programs for artists. So that includes artist development. It includes programming the theatre and also building partnerships for distributing dance around the UK and internationally. And this topic of equity is really, really important to us at the moment. We're trying to work hard to make the programs we offer more equitable for the many, many people who have been marginalised within the dance sector in the UK. And so I'm going to talk about two approaches that we're taking at the moment, two examples which perhaps also reveal the blind spots which Eva asked us to touch on. So the first is access riders. Now, this is a relatively new concept in the UK, the idea that along with your technical rider, that you might send a venue or an organisation an access rider which describes what you need. Veera said what's best for you, what will help you do your best work. And so we, about 2 years ago, we decided that we wanted to invite all artists who come to work at the place to send us an access rider. And we started to use a template that had been developed by an artist in consultation with many in the sector. And it's an absolutely wonderful document. It's a template, but it's also a statement about the social model of disability, and it's we thought, okay, this is this will help us to make our programs more equitable. And so we started sending it out, and what we realized was that in fact the document itself was not as accessible as we thought it might be. So for many people who received it, it worked, but it had a lot of words in it. And so we were getting feedback, particularly from people with dyslexia, saying, this doesn't work for me. And I mean, this was a particularly important observation because the percentage of dance artists who have dyslexia is higher than in the general population, we found through research in our school. So we thought, okay, this isn't working, we need to take a different approach. So we worked with another organisation, we did a bit more research, and they proposed something much more simple, just a Google form, which we now send out to artists with these sections: communication, so communication preferences, physical access, access workers, personal assistants and interpreters, quiet space, allergies and dietary requirements, and anything else. So it encompasses a whole range of things which you might want to tell a venue or organisation before you come and work with them. So we're testing that this summer, and we hope if it works, then we will use it across our programmes. And then a second approach that we're taking is appointing collaboration coaches for our co-productions. So we recognise that there's a power imbalance in the relationship between an organisation and an independent artist. And we used to try and lessen this imbalance by essentially being friendly and warm and welcoming and respectful. And of course these things are important, but what we've come to realise is it's really very difficult for artists to raise issues with us transparently when they're worried that, you know, we're both the producer, but we're the funder of the work as well. So how can that relationship feel equitable? So we now we pay coaches whenever we have a producing relationship with an artist, and their role is to mediate, is to support both sides to have conversations. And again, we've only done it a few times. We're testing it. We're finding out what works and what doesn't. But it's one way that we're trying to recognise what we can do better. Yeah, thanks.
I can take this. Thank you. there's so many things that we do, and there's still so many blind spots. Anyone of you that wants to clarify or add anything that just came now? Or I also want to ask you that haven't said anything yet. Do you have anything that you would like to share? Any strategies or blind spots that needs to be addressed? Yeah? Here, I come with a microphone.
Thanks. It just came up now into my mind as you said about English language. As we share everything in dance world with English language, perhaps it could be also a idea to offer free language course for dancers who are not who comes from different countries and cannot speak English yet.
Thank you. Anyone else? It is, yeah. Here.
Hello, my name is Stine Nielsen. I'm from the Coda Festival in Oslo. And my background is also from Danskompaniet in the UK, so I have a special interest around inclusion and access. And so when I came to the festival in 2017, I tried thinking about inclusion in terms of access, particularly for disabled artists and audiences. I tried to go the route into making local connections with local artists or people. And I just wanted to share that a little bit of what's come over the last few years is that in feedback and in consultation with these individual artists, that it's also important for institutions to speak with other institutions. So in a way it's obvious, but this combined way of working in terms of reaching both the independent artists, the sort of individual artists, in terms of getting information, getting learning from people around access and inclusion. It's also important not to forget about the other institutions, both working in the dance field, so we can share information and knowledge, as well as then the special interest organizations, maybe they work with inclusion access already. So I'm just wanting to share that it seems to us we need to work on different levels always, from both like person to person and person to institution, and that that's something that is and that the emphasis and the in one way both the burden sometimes that the individual artists may feel when we as institutions approach them for information is something they welcome because they want to share their personal experience, but it's also something to be shared with other institutions working in the same field. So that's just my experience that I think is important to these different layers that we need to work on, and that there are always different solutions, and the first one might not always work.
Thank you. Anyone else wants the microphone? There are 4 microphones we can easily share. No, I'm not going to sing a song, but to just jump to what we are talking about, it's it can feel very immensely overwhelming, this topic. It was on purpose to not narrow it down too much, to talk about working conditions. Because doing this is also that you hear this, there's so many areas where we work that needs to have this reflecting. And it can be these small things like just words, vocabulary. And they are not just words. They are the ones actually are giving the status and the hierarchy and keeping it or dissolve it. It's these small things like you said she, her thing to remember or to describe for people with visual impairment. It's little things that we have not gone through. It's not about that we are doing the same. It just shows that there are so many strategies and you need to really work with it to feel it in your body so it comes naturally, huh? So it's not just on top. But these vocabularies is something that is so easy to change for next year. But I see a hand over here.
Yeah, I just, when you said that it's so broad, this is always the panic. Okay, so I'm Virve Sutinen from Tanssi Maukost, now in my hometown Helsinki. That, like, I have worked in institutions for the last, oh my God, you don't want to know, 30 years maybe. And the institutions are different. Some institutions have real resources to tackle this issue on all its levels. Museum where you work, where it's like an educational department, they have everything. But we come from dance. And sometimes I worry that even the smallest dance companies take all this in and get this like panicky that they need to follow all these policies, which means people need to be educated to understand those policies. You need to look at how they work in your context. Where do they come from? A lot of the vocabulary comes from the Anglo-Saxon world. And you cannot just lift something and drop it in Berlin. You have to know that Berlin is a very different place, and it's a very different way of thinking, operating, and when it comes to topics like inclusion or accessibility, it's a place where you can't even access the subway because it's like, yeah. Anyway, so I'm sometimes worried about, because we are so dutiful in our sector, like we want to be the best in school, and we really want to do all of that. And I mean, I have a festival, and I have like quite a good budget, but even then I had to realize that I can only do so much. So I can only tackle this one thing. So what I maybe want to say is that that people would choose like maybe one thing that they start working on. And because this panicky of like trying to solve all these problems at the same time becomes overwhelming. Even for bigger institutions, it's overwhelming. And what happens at that point? They just adopt something from somewhere and it becomes lip service. Because there is no time. These are long processes. If I think of my life as a programmer, a curator, an activist, and an artist, I was always a feminist. And look where we are now. I'm 60-year-old and we are going backwards. So I just want to say that all these commitments to these things, if you take one commitment in your life and you just push it for all your lifetime, then maybe you feel like you have contributed something rather than trying to do all of it. Because the arch of like change is so long. Like it doesn't happen in one lifetime, unfortunately. Oh, the bad things do happen quickly.
Thank you, Virve. But backwards? No, we're not going backwards. Some things are going backwards. Spinn, going forward. There are other things, and Berlin different from what? This is a really good point because it's where you stand, huh? If you stand in Berlin, it's not different. It is Berlin. But if you're standing in Helsinki, it's different. So just to clarify, we are talking, of course, from the Western traditions here today. There is a lot of other perspectives that we're not touching upon. An hour is not enough. But this is not the end. It's the beginning. I'm looking at the clock. We have 6 more minutes. I will not... Yes, please, Jane.
Hello. Okay. I don't know. I'm just chatting into the microphone, just chatting. But I also, just to complicate things, because why not? But I like this idea of, I get what you mean, like take one thing and really try to push that forward. But sometimes one person can be so complicated. One person can be like 4 things at once. And I don't know, I enjoy, everything all the time, all at once. It's impossible, but it's really fun, and it's also, just that idea. One person can be extremely complicated and can have many things going on at once, and it's just like, how can this one very complicated person take a step forward further into their complication to see what is revealed for the rest of us to, I don't know, step into their imaginary world and learn something new or go someplace else. More coffee.
Thank you.
Can I? No, just I agree in some in what Birbe was saying, because I was mentioning a little bit when I was speaking. So now it's full of regulations, of good intentions, of inclusivity and access. And from our town council, that our structure is in it, they make for us regulations to really do and have these relations. But you need to change a building that in 100 years, they do nothing in the building and it's going down. So we need money to change these things. Then sometimes there are, and also when we really just put a policy that it not belongs to your country have another kind of needs. So sometimes it's hypocrite, it's a name that we can understand. I think that the policies are very hypocrites, because they say, we will do this. It's something that it's there in the paper, but this is not true. It's not the way you can implement it. You don't have the money to do it, so you need to do another thing, because it's not like this. So now we are in a moment like this, that they have this month full of new regulations for the access or for inclusion, but are not really, and you cannot arrive to do it. So better don't say that we have all this in the paper and really work for this in the context that you have, little by little, because this we can do it. So I agree with Birbe in that, because we are now suffering like this, and it's a dyslexia, this, yeah.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Leah. I also work at the place with Christina. It's really wonderful to kind of hear about different practices and different ideas. I kind of wanted to just maybe reflect about the fact that each of us have intersectionality within us. There is a multiplicity of access or barriers that people can have. But also I really kind of want to reflect upon the fact that this is an ongoing, forever process, and it is the commitment and enthusiasm to lift barriers that slowly, by us all trying things, doing things and testing, and never wanting to be ready, might be the way to invite more artists, more audiences, more participants to understand the effort being made, rather than anyone ever being fully accessible. In fact, that is a term that is very criticized, because nobody can be fully accessible. And so it's more about, there's a phrase I heard once in an executive of the CBeebies, which is the BBC for Children, saying, which is, if you can't see it, you can't be it. And it's more about that. It's more about role modeling, more about showing what is possible in small increments. And yeah, I kind of want to push back on the idea of being ready or done or fully sorted, because I don't think we can ever be. And I think that potentially is what creates the stress of trying to do everything. And it's a journey, I think.
Thank you. You know, to finish in time, it's also about equity. So you don't miss if you need to go. Do you have something very quick? Do you?
It's not I'm Ruth, I work from at England, so it's not my own practice, but I just wanted to share in this context that also the access, something that Kai Theater has done like quite recently now, is that they changed their policy in ticketing prices, and they have this like new system where it's like pay what you can, and they kind of changed it completely, so they have like an indicated price, but there is also a very low price, and actually it really is changing the people who come to the theater. You really see that there's different groups coming. I heard like
individuals telling me like I was only able to go perhaps once, like every 3 months to the theater. Now I can go more often. It really is changing something. So also, we've shared a lot of things, but that is also like for access towards inclusion is can really be a big game changer.
Thank you. So she's past. So again, I repeat, this is just the beginning. You will have some ideas when you go from here, and I realize I did not say anything really about European Dancehouse Network, but there is a website, there is an email address where you can actually contact and send your thoughts or input, or what we should do research about next year, or you just want to bounce things, please be in contact. But for now, thank you all that prepared and also joined us in the ring and with thoughts and feedbacks. And thank you for watching on YouTube, social media, or the 2D screen. Thanks.